So far, most of our work with Claude has happened inside the chat, or with files we uploaded ourselves. Connectors add another possibility. They let Claude work with information stored in services that we already use, such as calendars, cloud storage, communication tools, and project management systems. A connector is simply a controlled bridge between Claude and another service. It does not give Claude unlimited access to the internet or to every account you own. You choose the service, connect a specific account, and review the permissions involved. Open Claude, go to Customize and select Connectors. Depending on your plan, device, region, and organization settings, the exact list may look different from mine. Scroll through Connector Directory. Take a moment to browse what is available. You may see connectors for cloud documents, communication platforms, development tools, project management, and Google Workspace services. Examples can include Google Drive, Gmail, Google Calendar, Slack, Notion, Linear, or GitHub. This directory can change over time, so I would not try to memorize the complete list. Instead, think about the service you want Claude to use. Then search for that service by name. For this beginner demonstration, we will use Google Calendar. Search Google Calendar. Enter Google Calendar in the Connector search field and open the result. Before clicking Connect, read the description and the listed capabilities. Google Calendar is not limited to showing your schedule. Depending on the available tools and permissions, it can also create, update, or delete events, work with attendees, respond to invitations, find availability, and manage recurring meetings. Those features can be useful later. For a first test, however, we will only ask Claude to read our schedule. Beginning with a narrow, read-only task makes it easy to understand what happened and easy to verify the answer. Look for the connector's permissions or tool permissions. Pay attention to the difference between reading information and changing information. On managed team or enterprise accounts, an owner may need to enable a connector before individual members can use it. An organization may also restrict certain actions, such as allowing calendar searches while blocking changes. When I click Connect, Claude sends me to my web browser to authenticate with Google. This is important. I sign in on Google's own authentication page, choose the Google account I want to connect, and review the access request shown by Google. This browser step is commonly called OAuth authentication. In simple terms, Google confirms who I am and asks whether I want to authorize this connection. I do not paste my Google password into a Claude chat. I complete the sign-in and permission flow in the browser. If you have more than one Google account, pause and make sure you select the correct one. For example, you may have a private calendar and a separate work calendar. Claude can only work with the Google account you actually connect, and the calendars that account is allowed to access. Read the permission screen rather than clicking through automatically. If the requested access does not feel appropriate, cancel the process. You can always return later. Only connect accounts and services you trust and genuinely need. Complete authentication, then return to Claude. After I approve the connection in the browser, I return to Claude. The connector should now appear as connected. If it does not, refresh the page or open Customize and Connectors again. If authentication fails repeatedly, disconnect the connector and reconnect it, making sure the correct Google account is active in the browser. The connector follows the permissions of the connected Google account. If that account cannot see a private team calendar, Claude cannot use the connector to bypass that restriction. Claude inherits the access that the account already has. Open a new chat. Now we can run a very simple test. I am going to ask for my appointments and meetings for next week. I also make the request explicitly read-only. Notice a few useful details in this prompt. First, I define this week as Monday through Sunday. Relative phrases such as next week can sometimes be interpreted differently, so I ask Claude to state the exact date range it used. That gives me an immediate way to catch a date misunderstanding. Second, I request only 4 pieces of information: the date, start and end time, event title, and calendar name. This keeps the result compact and easy to scan. Third, I clearly say that Claude must not create, edit, delete, accept, decline, or respond to anything. Google Calendar can support actions like these, but we do not need them for this demonstration. Links to the original events, which make verification easier. If there are no meetings next week, the correct answer may simply say that no matching events were found. Claude should not invent appointments to make the answer look complete. Claude may ask for approval before using the connector or performing an action. Read the approval message and confirm that it matches the task you requested. For this example, I expected to read calendar information, not change anything. When the answer appears, first check the date range. Then compare 1 or 2 events with Google Calendar itself. Confirm the title and time. If your account contains multiple calendars, check that the calendar name is correct. Claude may also provide citations or links to the original events, which make verification easier. If there are no meetings this week, the correct answer may simply say that no matching events were found. Claude should not invent appointments to make the answer look complete. You can continue with simple follow-up questions. For example, you could ask, which day this week has the most scheduled meeting time? Do not change any events. Or, show me only the meetings that start before noon. Do not change any events. These follow-ups reuse the calendar connection while keeping the task easy to inspect. You can also manage individual connectors from the chat interface. Open the plus menu, find connectors, and turn available connectors on or off for the conversation. If you stop using a service, return to Customize and Connectors and disconnect it. One final distinction. A connector is not the same as Claude in Chrome. A connector communicates with a service through a defined integration. Claude in Chrome works through the visible browser interface by reading pages, clicking, and typing. Browser control is useful when no suitable connector exists, but it is usually more fragile because page layouts and buttons can change. For a service like Google Calendar, use the dedicated connector when possible. It is the more precise tool for reading calendar data. Use browser control only when the connector cannot perform the task you need, and supervise any action that could send, publish, purchase, delete, or change information. Your action step is to browse the connector directory, connect Google Calendar if you are comfortable with the permissions, and run the read-only next week prompt. Always check the exact date range and verify at least one event against the original calendar. In the next lesson, we will add repeatable expertise with Claude skills.